Welcome to Model Behavior, where the points don't count, where we both went out last night, and now we're up at 9 on a Sunday.
Yay, thank you, Aviva.
This is also where we explore the behind-the-scenes elbow grease of seemingly glamorous lives. With us today, and actually I'll have you introduce yourself, mostly because I don't know how to pronounce your last name.
So, my name is Tasha Singh Dwaj. I usually go by Tasha Dwaj. And, that's it. That's my name.
I'm reaching over my computer right now to press down the French press coffee I have made.
Gosh, stop. Don't even say it. I'm dying for some coffee.
Tell everyone where you are, Tasha.
Oh, I am in my lovely bed. Because it's 9 in the morning on a Sunday.
So yesterday, her phone completely crapped out on her. We had scheduled a Saturday morning at 11 a.m. and she's so sweet. She was like, okay, when can we do it? When can we do it? And I was like, well, if we were crazy, we could do it tomorrow morning. And she was like, yeah, crazy enough to work Sunday morning.
And here we are.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Well, I guess all of you will be getting this on a Monday night, but, if you're listening to this on a morning, good morning. Coffee.
Good morning.
So, Tasha, give them a little, well, first of all, let's actually just cut to the part where you went out last night for what were you up to?
So I was at a fashion event, and basically it was for the debut of a new designer, and her name is Art Bully KLR, and she does sunglasses. And last night we basically had an exhibit because she did these beautiful art pieces of glasses, put them on display, and she had all of her glasses on display. Everything's handmade, and everyone got to try them on and take pictures, and basically that's what it was. And a lot of mingling and networking, and it was very cool. This was in Soho, downtown Manhattan. So it was very, very cool.
Which, for those of you who are confused, it occurred to me you'll wonder how she's in her bed, and I am not. She is in New York, and she is my first long-distance podcast interviewee. And it sounded pretty good in testing. I guess y'all can tell me in the comments on iTunes whether this works. But I'm so excited to have her on the show because for a couple of reasons. Number one, she is a model. I mean, she is in it, and her story, I have no doubt, is fascinating with twists and turns. She's also just like a dope person, as you can see. But also, she's the first one on my show that I've had that I don't really know super well. Like, we've had people on the show that I don't know anything about their modeling career very well. I've known them through, mutual friends or acting. But Tosh, she is, and do you prefer to go by Tasha or Tosh?
Tasha's fun. Tosh is good too. Whatever.
So she and it was just one of those friendships that clicks right away. We both, and I think you're still working the live streaming gig, right? So she and I were hosts for a live streaming app, and we met each other over the app because there were these competitions between like trying to get, your followers, subscribers to give you more like money. And so we were paired together through the company that we were hosting for. And we wound up just like hitting a super genuine conversation, and we just loved each other like fresh out the gate. We loved each other. And so when I started this podcast, I immediately thought to myself, like, oh, this is a great excuse to get back in touch with Tosh.
Yes.
So here she is. So just like I would love to hear the summary of how you got started, like, did you get started as a kid? Like, how did you even get involved in the industry and why?
Oh my gosh. So
here we go.
So I started bartending at 17. That was illegal, by the way, but nobody knew.
Cool.
But it was okay. I was a waitress.
Yeah, don't come for her, you guys.
Like makeshift bar. Anyways, fast forward 11 years.
And this was all in New York?
Yes, all in New York.
Right.
And fast forward 11 years, and I am teaching bartending, and someone walks into my bar and into my classroom rather, and asked me to bartend at a fashion show for them. And so I said, okay, I'll do that. And when I got behind the bar at that fashion show, the person who organizes Westchester Fashion Week, I'm not sure if anyone's ever heard of Westchester Fashion Week, but it's a fairly new movement. And
but for those who have, are freaking out right now. They're like, oh my God, nobody knew about it. The few that are aware are so happy that you dropped Westchester Fashion Week.
It was like no one knows what Westchester Fashion Week is, and I just happened to be bartending at this random fashion show in Manhattan, and this guy sees me, and he comes over with a camera, and he just starts taking pictures of me, and I'm just like, oh, okay, sure. And then at the end of the event, he asks me, do you want to come to a casting call? And I am 27 years old at the time. And so, 27, 28, around there. And he asked me to come to a casting call, and I said, okay. And so I went to the casting call. Turns out I went a week early. No one was there. I got kind of scared. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, and for the record, like, models get preyed on constantly. I've never seen that velocity of, like, people being taken advantage of it's so early. People being taken advantage of until I got into modeling. Like, people think actors have it bad. Like, so it was totally sensible of her to immediately jump to the, this was some sort of ruse part. Yeah, it's a setup. Like, it happens all the time.
So I call him, and I'm like, nobody's here. And he's like, it's next week, Tasha. Okay. And so I went back. Long story short, I went to my first casting call. I did a fashion show for Westchester Fashion Week, and then he started introducing me to all these people, and I got to know the network, and everything kind of snowballed from there. And I got into broadcasting through one of the people that I know. She's also a designer, model, and she was like, hey, Tasha, you do these food video things? Do broadcasting. And I was like, all right, great. So I started doing broadcasting. That's how I ended up meeting Miss Aviva.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to plug your food video things?
Would I what?
Would you like to plug your food video things?
Oh, sure. So, I have a cooking show on Bigo Live where Aviva and I broadcast, and it is called Tosh and Josh Kitchen, and we basically want to reintroduce home cooking back into the home, and that's our concept. So, that's pretty much it.
So check her out there. So I'm curious, when you were told, come check out this modeling opportunity out of the bar, and you were 27, right? Was there, because we talked a lot about like perception of the industry and how that may cloud our decision making in regard to, if we get involved and how, and just not understanding that there's so many different branches of modeling that are not highly marketed or publicized. Like, there's really, in my opinion, I feel like there's sort of a place for just about everyone, somewhere in the world of modeling. Did you feel like, what are you talking about? I'm too old.
Aviva, I'm so sorry, honey. Hold on.
Okay. Here, I'll pause it.
My alarm started going off again. Like, it's like reminding me how early it is. I'm sorry, go ahead. Cool. You were saying.
So I was just curious, because if I were in your shoes at that time, I would have been hella suspicious, because I would have thought that, like, from what I knew about modeling, from the stories that I had heard about how young, these teenage girls are portraying, very adult images, that, like, oh my God, 27's like, grandma level in that world. I would have thought that I was too damn old. So I don't even know that I would have taken him seriously or thought it was serious. Did you feel any of those things?
Here's the thing. I was skeptical at first, but I took the time to have a conversation with him, and I basically said, okay, I'm going to do this based on his character. And I had a very good conversation. He was very respectful. He shared all of his social media information, and that's one thing I'll always advise people. Make sure you check people's social media, see if they are who they say they are. In this day and age, everyone has social media. You should be able to find something on this person. So I would, do that first. But he communicated primarily through social media, and I got to see his whole network and who he works with. So I said, okay, I'll try this out.
Yeah, so you at least knew he was legit. It was a good start. So you at least knew he was legit. At least it was coming from a reputable source, and it was at least worth a shot for that reason.
But I was still skeptical, so I made sure I brought a friend with me
That girl.
when I went. So we were both kind of stranded in Westchester. I had to come back to Queens, which is like a 2.5 hour drive.
By the way, that's great advice. Bring a friend whenever you can. Because even on photo shoots, I'm telling you, models get the shit kicked out of them in a way I've never seen anywhere else. Everyone's just constantly trying to take advantage of them. And I'm not trying to scare you guys away from doing these things. And we can have a whole other podcast about how to prepare for recognizing red flags, how to prevent, and if you're in it, how to deal with it, how to follow up. We can have a whole podcast about protecting yourself. I'm not saying stay away from the industry, but just always expect the worst and hope the best, because people will try to take advantage of you.
Right. One piece of advice I'll say for everyone is always make sure you have a phone charger.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice.
That's really important, because I've had it times where I'm in the middle of the night, my phone is dead, I'm in the middle of nowhere, I just came back from a shoot or a fashion show, and it could get pretty scary. One time I had to pull over my car and cry.
Yeah.
I was stranded in the middle of nowhere, and I was so scared, and so I would always suggest having your charger on you.
That's a
because
great
you never know
advice.
who you come across in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I'm thinking down the line, so we have a website for model behavior, and I'm thinking it might be fun to put together some sort of model safety kit or blog.
Yes.
That's a good, even just little things you can bring, like you mentioned, the charger or mace, whatever. We'll brainstorm. But everyone should have one, including the men. So for my men who are listening, they'll try to take whatever you can as a model. You give an inch, they try to take a mile. So just keep doing you, keep pushing for the things that you want, but just be ready to fucking rumble.
Right. That's right. No, absolutely. Safety first, and especially in an industry like this, you have to be very, very careful, because, I've heard some crazy horror stories myself, and I'm just okay, I really need to pay attention to people and their personalities. And that's the main thing I would suggest, is really, really paying attention to people's characters. You have to start becoming sort of like a profiler.
Yeah.
And I am very good at this because I was bartending for 11 years.
Yeah.
And, it really gave me this skill of reading people. And so I really, I pride myself in being able to read people, and I'm so happy I know how, because I've avoided so many unsavory situations because I paid attention to people's behavior and how they treated others. That's a really big thing. How people treat others will tell you how they'll treat you. So pay attention. That is my biggest piece of advice to you all.
I have a theory. This might be going off the rails a little bit, but I have a theory that I think, in television you see so many love stories about the guy or the girl who treats everybody poorly but the person they're in love with. And I think it's catering to a very dangerous fantasy that the way that somebody treats you validates your worth, when in actuality, I think we've all had experiences where maybe we, had that for a minute and it made us feel special, but people are creatures of habit. So nobody is safe. If you're with someone and you see them treating other people poorly, it's only a matter of time until they try to control you too, or dump on you too, you're either a respectful person or you're not.
Exactly.
You either care about how other people feel or you don't. But you're absolutely right, because trying to trust, I know one of the biggest things just in life I've been working on is I finally learned how to understand, how to recognize an instinct. For many, many years, I didn't really even understand what that meant, follow your instincts, because what does that mean? Like, what does that feel like? And I finally came to understand what that felt like when I was studying abroad in Spain.
Oh, wow.
Because I think there were just enough dangerous situations where I was like, oh, that's an instinct. You know, I learned how to understand it and then learn how to translate it. So if you're at that point, so understand, for those of you listening being like, but I don't know if I have instinct, they're in there. You know, it's just something to pay attention to and try to explore, and you will get there with that awareness.
It's like, I like to tell everyone, you know, you need to, red flags.
Yeah.
Okay, recognize all the red flags. And that will guide your instincts.
Yeah, well, that's my personal journey right now, is learning how to. I give people too many benefits of a doubt. Like, if my instincts are blaring, if my instincts are telling me that something isn't right, it's not my responsibility to give that person a benefit of a doubt. It's not my responsibility to be like, oh, let's give them a chance. No, it's my responsibility to protect myself. And chances are, like, your instincts are on point. Trust your instincts wherever you can. And out of habit, I give people way more passes than I should. And then all of a sudden, there's a history there, or we've spent quality time, and, you know, it becomes more trouble than it was ever worth once that left shoe drops, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
So speaking of having gone from bartending to modeling, did you know any models at all? Or was this just a whole new world?
So the only models that I knew while I was bartending were like brand ambassadors, like, you know, those girls that do like liquor ambassadors. So I didn't really, I wasn't really involved in any kind of modeling before that casting call that I went to for Westchester Fashion Week. Yeah, so I dreamt about it since I was a kid. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, I hope that one day someone sees me and like, oh, you should be a model.
That is awesome.
And so like, I have no prior experience. I did like a fashion show in college. Like, that was about it. Yeah. And that was it. I never really did anything in this industry. So it was a whole new world for me, to be honest.
So do you do any runway at all? Or are you predominantly print ad modeling, Instagram modeling? I've seen that you do. She has a great Instagram. We're going to plug that at the end of the show.
Thank you, darling.
But what are kind of your specialties that you love to do?
So runway, I do local shows for runway because runway, it requires you to be a certain height. Right. So I'm 5'5", and then I'll wear some 6-inch heels. Right. I can do runway. I've done a lot of runway, but I always just look so short compared to the other girls. Oh yeah. So, you know, I don't really like doing runway, but I'll do my local runway shows for local designers throughout the year. And then in terms of print, I love doing print. I've been in a couple of magazines, and I really love it. But most importantly, I like being an influencer. So that's where the Instagram modeling stuff comes in. I do a lot of influencer marketing. So I represent products. I do a lot of ambassador work via Instagram and social media. And actually right now, I'm very focused on broadcasting because, out of Bigo, since I started doing Bigo and all the food videos and things like that, I was introduced to this wonderful woman, Lynn Patnosh, and she is in, I forget which state she's in, but she's in a different state. She's across the country. And she asked me to represent her here in New York for her platform called Concierge Q, and it is a entertainment platform. It's a travel and entertainment platform.
Nice. So, that's right up your alley.
What?
That's right up your alley. That's so exciting.
Right. I love it. Oh my gosh. It's food, travel, and entertainment, and I love it. And she now has me going to these amazing events. The first one I went to was at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and it was like this amazing exhibit for rock and roll legends. There's now rock and roll at the Met, so if you want to go and see some crazy guitars and instruments, it's there.
I didn't even know that.
Yes, it's amazing. It was beautiful. And this is the first time that rock and roll has graced the Hall of Met, you know? So I feel like I was really a part of rock and roll history, and I'm a metalhead all the way, so I was over the moon. The biggest rewards that came out of modeling was the people I got to meet in this life. And I went across the country and met some amazing people, and it just, everything kind of snowballed, you know? And I'm here, and now I'm going to these insane events that is open, that's not even open to the public yet. I'm going to be promoting it to the public. It's like a dream, you know? It's a dream come true.
Well, I'm curious. So there are a couple really cool things about your story that I'm going to be asking you so many questions about already. And one of which is your relationship with New York. We all hear the stories about models starving and struggling in New York and how competitive it is. But it sounds like a lot of the opportunities and the networking you've been able to do that's led to more opportunities, et cetera, work begetting work, is because you live in New York. Like, do you feel like New York has been a huge help? Or if you lived, let's say, I don't know, in Georgia, maybe you would have been doing the same things you're doing. But what is your relationship to modeling in New York specifically?
Oh gosh, New York is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, if it wasn't for this city, I would never get to be able to do these types of things. You know, a lot of people think that New York is, all struggle and it's all danger, but the reality is that if you work hard, you'll get something out of it. So it all comes down, it's hard, it's competitive, but you have to put in the footwork. People are not going to notice you unless you put yourself in front of their eyes. And that's really how it happens. You have to get out there, put yourself out there, get into all the venues and the events and the networking events, get to know people, and don't be stuck up. Don't be snobby. Don't think that because you're a model, you're the bee's knees. You need to be humble and treat everyone nice, know. And so New York has been really a mecca for models. I have models that are in fashion shows that I cast for fashion shows because I do that as well. And I have girls that are coming all the way from freaking Australia to walk in the shows that my local girls are walking in. That my local girls are like, oh, I don't know if I want to walk in that show. And I have girls coming all the way from the UK and from New Zealand, from Australia, and they're trying to walk in local fashion shows for New York Fashion Week. So New York is really, an amazing place if you want to be a model. New York and LA, East Coast, West Coast, those two places, and Miami as well. You really want to put yourself within within the crowd that you want to be a part of. And New York City, the fashion network here is very small. It's not a huge network, so everyone kind of knows everyone, and once you start talking to people, you'll see how your network will grow really quickly, and I don't think that would have happened anywhere else, to be honest with you.
You may not have an answer for this, but you're brilliant, so I figure let's give it a shot. So for people who, funny enough, contrary to popular opinion, most models that I have met, especially runway models, tend to be very shy. What would be your advice for, you're explaining networking and meeting people? Would you have any advice for anyone who finds it challenging to, be an outgoing presence?
I deal with the same issue with a lot of my students from bartending school, And one thing I'm going to tell you, if you want to get into this industry, you have to realize that this is an industry of people. And if you really mean it and you really are about it, you will have to break out of your shell, and you just got to start talking. You just say, hi, my name is whatever. I'm one of the models here, or like, I'm into fashion. What do you do? And you just have to start mingling with people, and I know, like, in terms of, like, there's also shyness, like, around other models, around, like, in the dressing room, especially for, the young people. Bring somebody with you. Always have, if you're on the younger side, have somebody with you at all times who makes you feel safe, so it'll be a little bit easier for you to introduce yourself to people, because you'll be with somebody and you'll introduce them too. And that's how I would say to get over the shyness. You have a friend with you, and just sort of convince yourself that, listen, if I want to do this, I'm going to have to interact with people. I'm going to have to start mingling and networking, because it's really a business of people.
I love that advice. I mean, it's funny because even I'm going to be taking that advice. Like, I come off as very extroverted, but I'm actually very, very introverted. And like last night was the first time I went out in like months. And I went out with one of my casting director friends, and we had like a little conversation similar to this one, where I was like, I need to just remind myself that every single time I go out, like, as if I haven't been doing it, and I think it's a skill that can be built. Social charisma, because we talked about in my interview episode that I was not cool in my adolescence, and I was painful. Girl, yeah, I'm like, I didn't shy. I don't know about you, but I didn't talk until college. But that was a skill that could be built. You put yourself in part-time jobs that require customer service interactions, and you go to the parties and you meet the new people, and like, you really can build that muscle. You're not destined to a life of shyness, regardless of what other people may have told you, just like, oh, you're naturally shy. Maybe that's your starting point. I know I love to like go home after a party and like unwind on my own, but that doesn't mean that I can't go out and enjoy social activity now.
Exactly.
And I was telling my friend, shout out to Kim, who we might be having on the show too. She casts a lot of modeling gigs.
Nice.
I was telling her, like, I need to remind myself that whenever I go out, something good happens. Like, I either meet someone cool, or I have a great conversation that, changes my life, or something good happens just to be out. So I guess I'm encouraging a couple things, not to like take over this podcast, but one, know that your social skills can be honed. And number two, trust that even if you feel like you can only manage an hour at that event, that hour is going to be time well spent. Because you will meet, even if you meet one person, or you have one insightful conversation, or you have one moment that makes you feel good, like one person tells you it was delightful to meet you, or you look great, like that's time well spent. Yeah, and it'll just make the next one easier.
And do not put yourself into a box, right? Because somebody may say, "Oh, you're a naturally shy person," but honest to God, you are what you choose to be. Mm-hmm. You're not naturally anything. You have a choice. Mm-hmm. So, do not put yourself into this little box and say, "Oh, I'm this person, and this is who I am, and this is my personality type." No, you can be anything you want, honey. Like, you just have to tell yourself, "Okay, get over it." And like Aviva said, even if you have one meaningful interaction, it is worth it. Because let me tell you, what get me where I am today, it all came from one meaningful interaction after another, after another, after another.
Yeah.
I went all the way to Hollywood. I met hundreds of people. I met celebrities. I met amazing people. But it took one person for me to be able to do all of these other things that I'm doing currently. So, it really does go a long way to put yourself out there and smile, always. Kill with kindness. As a woman, you hate it when people tell you, "Oh, smile." I hate that. But you know what? Smiling is contagious. and people will love you for it, and they'll think you're awesome because all you do is smile and make people feel happy and make people feel like you care. So, that's another piece of advice.
Yeah, it couldn't hurt.
Stay positive. Not just smile, but stay positive and exude positivity. And more people will gravitate toward you because they're like, I want to be like that person. She's happy, or he's happy.
So what's really cool about following your career is that I think from models that I've known, for the most part, they either kind of stick to traditional territory or they take the newer creative routes, like influencing and stuff like that. And you're doing both. So it looks like you're dipping, you've been dipping your toe, your whole body, I guess, fully submerged in both worlds for a while. I assume, does this mean I assume you have agent representation. I assume you get the emails in your inbox that say, go to this, go see, or, you have a print ad, audition here, etc.
I don't have an agent.
Interesting.
Yes. The only agency that I work with is Marquee. And that's purely for broadcasting, for nothing else.
Yeah.
So all the other modeling I've done it through and with designers that I know and that
networking.
I've networked with.
And for those of you who are unfamiliar, that's so cool. Like, y'all, for any of you who either don't want an agent or can't get an agent or are concerned about, do I need an agent? Listen to this podcast because this girl's making it work. So basically, the role of an agent, they essentially can get you access to auditions because basically the way the hierarchy goes, there's production that wants to shoot some sort of thing to promote some sort of product, right? And so they contact casting directors and say, we need talent that you trust, because they don't want their time wasted. If they just had open calls for everything, nobody has that kind of time to see everyone that thinks they're a model. So they contact agencies and say, we need, models that you think would fit what we're looking for. And so that's when agents, because they're trusted, can contact their models that they think suit the breakdown and say, listen, you have an audition for this client at this time. And that's how the system works. It comes down to essentially agents are just trusted that they're not going to waste their time, and then talent, of course, is trusted by the agents that they're not going to waste the client's time. So Tasha has bypassed that. She has bypassed that process because it sounds like you're networking with all the clients, like you're networking with all the production people. And so they're just going right to you. They're bypassing the agency process because they already trust you.
Yes. So they just call me and say, hey, Tasha, can you come out for this? And can you do this shoot?
That's brilliant.
Model this? Yeah.
Good for you.
Exactly.
Was there ever a time when you felt like, for whatever which reason, like, because I feel like there's very unnecessary, especially in today's time, stigma around like, oh, this model has an agent versus this model doesn't. They're a freelancer, or like they're an Instagram model. Like, I feel like, and maybe not in New York, but I know in the South there's some stigma about being unrepresented. Was there ever a time, despite your success, you felt like, well, maybe it would behoove me just to have the representation, just to tell people I am? Or were you always just like, whatever, this is going well?
Well, you see, for me, it was a little different because I had so many people that I can turn to and say, hey, do you know this person? Can I trust them? Like, I was able to do that. And every designer, photographer I've come in contact with, I had someone I could go to and say, hey, can I trust this person? And they were like, yeah, you can trust them, or you can trust these people, whatever. And that was the guy who introduced me to all of this. And he's an elderly person, and he's been in the industry for quite some time. And so he knows everyone and anyone. And so I used to run it by him. And so I didn't really feel like I felt safe in doing things by myself.
Yeah.
Because I had someone to run point with. Like, that's what I mean. You have to have the person. So if you're not represented and you have no one like that, I would suggest looking into getting an agent because, I've come in contact with a few agents, with some of the girls that I've worked with, and one thing I'll say is make sure they care about you as a person and as a model. Like, that's so important and I've seen agents that have totally like neglected their girls or their models, and then I've seen agents who were like, okay, are they going to be taken care of? Like, they like these people were just so caring. Like, they cared about everything that happened to their girls, you know? So I was very surprised. Like, I thought, you know, I didn't think that agents could mistreat their models as the way they did. And yeah, I didn't think that thought just never occurred to me, because I thought it was like, you know, a professional relationship. So
never anywhere.
You know? Yeah, I thought it was a more professional relationship. I don't know, but I was surprised, you know, but I shouldn't be. And neither should you. So
no, I
just
get
do
it.
your research.
I was catching my friend last night. We had all these conversations about how she was like, man, I really thought adulthood would look different. And like so much of it still looks like junior high, no matter what circles you're in.
Yes.
You know, no matter what you're working on or how high you are up in the industry, like so much junior high still pertains. It's like, wow, we really thought it would look, because certain things sound so simple, like, oh, respect your colleagues and they'll respect you. And, you know, like certain things sound like it's just.
No, Viva, no, you're asking for utopia.
It makes way too much sense, yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. So that's it.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I mean, it sounds to me like things were just taking off so quickly and so well that you didn't have time to question, you know, like whether or not you were being perceived in a certain way, or it's just like it was working and you just keep saying yes. So like, there's not even time to question that.
Yeah, really, seriously. And I was just so happy that people were responding so positively to me that I just kind of ran with it. And I'm like, all right, you know what? And then I also would advise, like I said before, if you want people to notice you, you put yourself in front of their eyes. So I made sure that I made sure that I knew who I wanted to notice me. And one of the first people was Pamela Quincy. She's a celebrity shoe designer. And I was like, okay, you know what? I want that girl to know who I am. Fast forward 2 years, I'm now the editor of her book, which just released. Yes, and she's like the Cinderella of New York, and she's the one who invited me out to LA, and I went to this gifting suite, and I met these amazing people who then asked me to come out to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and so, you know, like, that's how it went.
Yes. So what would you recommend for people? Because I know, like, I've had this conversation with some of my actor friends where they feel like when there is a specific person in that room, let's say, you know, we have a casting agency here in Georgia that does these luncheons from time to time, and like every actor and their mom comes out to like get these casting directors to remember them, to notice them, to know who they are, to like them, right? And it makes them so, the friend I was talking to, it makes him so uncomfortable because he's like, I'm very much a people person, sure, but like if I know for a fact, if I have like an agenda, you know, like a business motive to get to know someone, I feel like a phony, and then that makes me seem awkward and I don't know what to say. Like, how would you go about, like, what would you do kind of to mentally put yourself in a good place for that?
So, I think we genuinely need to care about the people that we want to put ourselves in front of, and we want to continuously show them support. You know, I didn't just like impose my presence on Pamela. Like, I was just like, oh, I need to work with you. No, I supported her brand. I showed love every way that I could. I bought her shoes. I bought her dresses. I attended every fashion show she asked me to come to. I became the most reliable person in her like, you know, peripheral. And she was just like, one day, 2 years later, she's like, hey, Tasha, I need someone I can trust to work with me here in New York. And so I built trust with her over the course of a year. Yeah. And that's a long time, I understand, but it is, you know, that's what it takes, because at the end of the day, people need to know that they can trust you.
Playing the long game too. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Blah blah blah. You know.
Exactly. You know, slow and steady wins the race, right? So you have to show people that you're not just in it to get something out of them. You're in it because you care about them, you care about what they do, you love what they do, so that's how you have to, like, the same thing with my mentor. I took his class 4 times before he offered me an internship, and this was in college.
Yeah.
Okay? So, I was just like, you know what? I want him to know who I am, and I'm going to make him remember me. And that's really what it is. You have to make yourself memorable. It's not just about, putting yourself in front of people. They need to see you, and they need to remember you based on your actions. Yeah. So, they associate you with a certain thing. It's not just, this person keeps, trying to talk to me and keeps trying to work with me. And no, that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
So that's how I would tell you to put yourself in front of people. Just show them love, show them support, show them that you care about what they are doing, and that you can just be a friend first and foremost, and that builds trust, and then from that relationship can come a professional working relationship.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always turn out that way. Sometimes working relationships start right away, but both people have to be on the same page, and if they're not, and you want to be on that page, then you're the one who needs to put in the work and the effort, the energy to do it.
You have become our networking specialist on this show. I'm so excited that we're digging into networking. I didn't see this coming, and I'm freaking thrilled. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it also seems to me like in order to achieve everything you just discussed, another thing you'll have to accept that you'll need to work on is your own self-esteem, because I know in my case, so a few days ago I had a conversation with one of my best friends. Her name is Ariana Feiner. She's going to be on the show talking about something very unique. She was, long story short, explaining to me, look, the fact that you deny that you are A, funny, and B, charismatic, and you don't see that, and it doesn't serve you that you don't see that within yourself as well, because it's creating a huge distance between public perception and how they treat you as a result of that, versus the way that you feel that you're coming off to people and the way that they probably see you. She's like, it's muddying up your connections with people. Even last night when I went out, since having that conversation, I really tried to take it to heart, and I had a great time, mostly just because for the first time I was feeling like it'll be really great to meet people because I am funny and charismatic. So I'm gonna have a great time. And lo and behold, I had a wonderful time. And I thought I was a pretty confident person, but building my social confidence, like the confidence to know that people are gonna wanna talk to me, that has been huge as of lately. I've come to understand that's going to help me in so many rooms where I don't know people, or I see important, quote unquote, people that I would like to get in with or work with, just to know that they're at least going to enjoy a conversation, to know that I'm not going to be wasting their time with my presence, that they will enjoy me. That's going to help me a whole lot in networking. So would you say, like, if you're not feeling good about your social poise, if you don't feel like other people will enjoy your company, that's something you got to work on too.
And honestly, if you're putting in 100% into an interaction, and turns out they don't want anything to do with you, honestly, let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. There's more people in the world, and honestly, you never know, it may come right back around, because I've had situations where people were like, like they treated me differently, like they don't want anything to do with me, but then they find out that me and this other person were really cool, and they really liked me, and then they start to like think about me again, and they're like, okay, maybe she's not so bad, or maybe I misjudged her, so you never know.
That is great advice. And that's one thing I've come to learn and love about this industry, and probably most industries too, is that there will always, if you're putting in the work, and at your core you're a genuine person trying to do genuine things. This all sounds so basic, I'm so tired. But there will always be more opportunities. So even if you have like that one person at that one, let's say casting agency that for whatever which reason has it out for you, you don't have to panic about that. There will be other opportunities. There are always other people. It's a huge industry. It's a huge world. Yes. It's funny because on one hand, yes, it's very small, but on the other hand, there's so much opportunity, that you don't need to get caught up on the one loss, because there's so many potential wins out there. It won't even matter.
And another piece of advice, when you're dealing with a network as small as the fashion network, behave yourselves. okay? Behave yourself.
Get into it. Give us more.
Do not make a name for yourself.
You obviously have stories here.
Oh my gosh, like not my own. And this is why I say
obviously.
behave yourself, because when I hear things about the people that I know, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's like high school, like you said, Aviva. It's like high school. Okay, so please, everybody, behave yourselves. Be on your best behavior, because people talk. Okay, people will talk about you. People will try to ruin your reputation. I went through that because I was involved in the Miss Universe pageant stuff, and
cool.
It kind of went crazy, and there was huge scandals with my country's segment, like part of the pageant, and someone actually tried to ruin my life, like tried to ruin my reputation within my network, and I was just like, oh my God, and now this person is being, talked about everywhere because she really messed up. Like she really tried to take advantage of people. My bird's going crazy, don't mind him. And so now her reputation within the industry is just garbage. Like she was the owner of the franchise for our country, and she lost that. She lost the opportunity to own other franchises, and so I'm talking about the Miss Universe Guyana franchise. Sorry if you're confused. And
what country is that you were representing?
Guyana, my country.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to make that clear.
It was a hard. That's another story for another day. It's a really long story.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of it all, she tried. I helped her. Like I was there with her every single step of the way. I mean, literally there with her. And then she turned around and stabbed me in the back and tried to she just slandered me.
Yeah.
And
because maybe she felt threatened. Do you think? She felt threatened by you?
I'm thinking that. I think she was very jealous. So she even said it out loud, so I'm assuming it is that.
She's probably not lying about that one yet.
So, I'm just like, and now her reputation is in the gutter. You feel me? So,
oh yeah.
Behave yourselves. Misbehave, because now everyone who is against her now knows me, and now they're with me, and the whole world flipped on her. So you need to be careful with yourselves and how you behave, because you can ruin yourselves like that.
Yeah. And going back to what we said about like people being creatures of habit, I've come to learn that if unfortunately it's not like every day another drama, but like sometimes people will target you. And I've come to learn that if you're being targeted by someone, chances are they've been targeting other people as well. And everyone will come to discover that this is how they play the game. That's not cool. It'll reflect poorly on them. And chances are they've done this many, many times. Like it only reflects on their reputation. So don't stress yourself about, and this is one of the best lessons I learned, ironically, because who knew that it would turn out this way? But I'd had a friend in college who, long story short, when I moved to Chicago, I realized, I needed a break from this person. She really wasn't a good friend. And so when she wanted to get in touch and hang out, I told her that. I was like, listen, exactly the way you treated me in college. I just need some time. And the next thing I knew, all of our mutual friends were calling me and telling me, this girl is saying you're not friends anymore. And who knows what she said to them. But it was like almost like she tried to claim all of our friends. Like she was paranoid that somehow all of our friends would stop talking to her if we weren't friends. I don't know. But like however she lashed out, everybody asked me, so what happened? And I was thinking, if I tell them what happened, I'll have to tell them everything. And it's dark and dirty. And I don't know that they need that in their lives. So I said to them, and I didn't expect this to turn out well for me at all. I said, listen, you know her and you know me. I think you can probably make this decision for yourself as to why we're not friends anymore. I am friends with all of these people to this day. They didn't even ask questions. They understood. They were like, oh, got it. And that blew my damn mind. And that is because, over time, you talk about building trust. I built a positive reputation for myself, fortunately, and it doesn't take much. Just, be respectful, adulting 101. But anyhow, oh my God. And this other person had not, like she was dumping on me. Chances were she was dumping on everybody else in our friend group.
Yes. This same woman who tried to ruin me, she also tried to ruin the lives of quite a few young women. And these are women that she was representing, and I was so silly, I was a little naive, I have to admit, because in the beginning, some of the things I'd hear come out of her mouth, I was just like, wow, you're really not a very good person. But she's like fighting for like domestic violence cases, and like she's trying to like act like she has this platform of compassion.
Doesn't that blow your mind? Like that, the dichotomy, so many people do exactly that. They won't treat their neighbors kindly, but they'll be gunning after whatever political problem needs to be fixed. And it's like, can we start with just can we just start with casual respect?
Yes,
go from there?
What, Aviva, it was all about money. Okay, it was all about money. So another piece of advice: do not let money guide your actions. Do not let greed guide your actions, because it's a very dark road that you're putting yourself on, and eventually you're gonna crash and burn. If you ask me.
You're absolutely right. So I got
do what you love and do it with kindness, and the money will come.
Yeah, I love that. So I've noticed, one thing that's really interesting too about your Instagram, like I feel like you're such a pioneer in so many ways, because I think most of us understand that, yes, I think we're all aware that it is possible to monetize an Instagram, but I think many of us are under the impression that you need 10,000 followers to start that, because a number of the apps require, for example, Brand Snob, and I forget, there are so many of them, Popular Pays, etc. Most of like the brand deals that you can get in touch with require 10,000 followers typically to start making money. But yours, I mean, you have what, 2,500 and I'm seeing you advertise all the time on there. So how do you go about monetizing an Instagram that is, under the number of followers, that people tend to believe you need?
Well, here's the thing. I'm what you call a micro influencer, right? And that's anybody under 10,000, 10K followers. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, smaller companies who don't have the funds to pay these big influencers, because they could cost, it can cost anywhere from $25 to $20,000 for a post. If you're an influencer who has millions of followers or so on.
Yeah,
so you get huge sponsorships. But for someone like me, reaching out to smaller companies is a great way to start. Now, I only started doing the influencer marketing thing after I went to LA. I went for a magazine launch, ended up at a gifting suite, a celebrity gifting suite. And so if you don't know what that is, it's basically when a bunch of vendors go out, they show their product, and they basically give it away for free, and that they're doing it for exposure. So I went in with under the name of the magazine with Pamela, the designer I spoke of earlier, and we came in contact with all these different products and business owners. And so I started taking pictures with the products and posting them and giving them shout outs and, saying, give people a little background on the product. And people appreciated it so much that they kept sending me their products and were like, please keep taking pictures and please keep posting. So, and then eventually they're like, hey, here's an affiliate marketing link. Here's a coupon code. Use it. You can make money off of selling our products. And I'm like, oh my God, that's great. That's what every influencer wants. And so, that's, and in terms of charging people, I have a very small following, but my Instagram is impressive to a lot of people. So people also pay me to curate their Instagram pages. Mm-hmm. So, so you can charge people like one set price and tell them, okay, I'm going to curate this many photographs for you, and I'm going to show you how to do this and that. Or you charge them by the hour, depending on how much time you work on a specific campaign. So, that's another way to monetize Instagram. and then also leading people to my other platforms from my Instagram platforms to platforms where I do make money, like for instance Bigo, so that's for me it was kind of very lucky the way that I started doing monetizing Instagram. I got very lucky because of the people that I met. So
Yeah.
yeah, so if my advice to people as well is that reach out to smaller brands, smaller companies on Instagram, on social media, form a relationship with people. And I know a lot of people that will just go out and get the product and do a review and post it, and then they form a relationship based on that.
Okay, well, oh my God, I have so much more I could talk to you about, but I feel like the territory that we hit, I'm so happy with, because you're the networking queen. Like, I'm so grateful that you shared.
Oh, thank you.
Grateful that you shared that with everybody. So you guys, if anybody has any questions for Tasha, or you want her to represent, some of the products that maybe you're a part of or selling, plug all of your social medias, Tosh.
Okay, so my Instagram is Tasha Dwaj. I'm going to have to spell that for you, so you're going to need a pen. So
and this will all be on the website, everybody, as well.
Okay, good. TASHADWHAJ, Tasha Dwaj. That is my Instagram. I also have another Instagram called Tosh and Josh Kitchen, and that is my foodstagram. That is where you'll find not all, but you'll find a lot of recipes that we do on Bigo Live. And also there's Facebook, which is just my name, Tasha Dwaj, and also Tosh and Josh Kitchen on Facebook, and that is where you can find me.
And I have no doubt, following those platforms, you'll be able to keep up with all of her new broadcast endeavors as well. You'll be keeping us posted, right?
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I also have a newsletter. So if you want to join my newsletter, all you need to do is send me an email. It's mainly about food, okay? Just so you know. But I do take suggestions for things that people want me to talk about in the newsletter. So if you do have any questions about any of the industries that I've worked in or currently work in, feel free to ask questions, and I will even issue answers in my newsletter. If you're not on any of my platforms, I will do my best to answer whatever questions I can.
Yeah, and if you guys panic and you forget everything she just told you, this will all be on the Model Behavior website, the Model Behavior Instagram, the Model Behavior YouTube. We're going to be streaming this there as well, so you can find her name everywhere. So I have 3 questions that I ask everyone on the show. My first question is, what's your favorite thing about modeling?
Oh, people.
Yeah.
It's gotta be people.
Shocking.
There's so many beautiful, wonderful souls I've met in this life because of modeling. So, yeah, people.
That's a good answer. And what's your least favorite thing about modeling?
Perverts.
Oh, yeah, that's a good answer, too. No kidding.
We don't need any more perverts, guys.
Yeah, that's one thing the world could really do without. And so my third question for you is just anything that's just kind of cool that comes to mind, and it doesn't have to do anything with modeling. Just what's something that's kind of cool? It could be a video game you fell in love with recently, or a fact you learned about horses. Anything.
So it's so funny that you said video games, because that's literally the first thing that came to my mind. But I was like, no, I don't want to be that cliche girl. I'm a gamer girl.
Let's hear it. Let's hear. Oh, I went on a whole rant in one of these episodes about my favorite video game of all time, and and I bored the shit out of my listener, because I was I discovered the way that they used to map out the scenes. They did it in layers, and so so boring.
But no, seriously though, video games, I must say this. A lot of parents I noticed are stopping their kids from playing video games, and I've been playing video games since I was 7 years old. I saw my cousin had one, an SNES, and I was like, Daddy, I need to have that SNES. And he's like, all right. So he gave me my own, because my cousin wouldn't let me play. But anyways, the point is, video games, I feel, really do hone your ability, reading abilities, problem solving skills, just reflexes. I think video games are actually really good for you, but you gotta limit yourself because it's also very addictive.
Balance. Look at that.
Listen. I had those days, and I burnt out every system I ever had, and now I don't have anything. So I'm taking a break.
I love that you just said that about video games. That's what I tried to convince my parents of growing up. It didn't get very far. But I totally agree. They can be really good for you in a lot of ways, but exactly, you just got to balance your life, though. It can't be so fully immersive that that's all you do.
Yes, absolutely.
So
and not every game is for every person, okay? So
word. So my kind of cool is, speaking of horses, I watched a video on this horse's hooves that grew like super long. I didn't know they could do that. Horses' hooves, they grow like human nails. And I was like, what? And so I started researching, but if humans don't cut them, then like, what do they do? And so basically wild horses, when they're running around outside, they just kind of like, they just kind of stay cut because they're running over rocks and water and shit. Like it's maintained because they're like, I know. But this pony was like trapped in a barn for a long time. So so his nails grew to like, they grew like 5 to 6 feet long or something, and they curled around like human nails. And so they had to like saw them down. I know.
Well, there are amazing farming games out there. Like I'm a huge farming game person. Like It started with
Harvest Moon.
Oh my God, you don't even understand. It's so addictive. And now I play Heyday on the iPad.
And my friend Ariana, so the same one I referenced today, like we had this ongoing joke because she's been through so many like surgeries, and that's a whole story about what happened to her. But at one point she was so doped up. She was playing the newest version of Harvest Moon, and I forget what it's called. And she like literally thought that like this was her life. And she like died in a cave, and she was like, oh my God. And someone called her at one point. She was like trying really, really hard to grow these vegetables, and it wasn't happening. And someone called her cell, and in her brain she was like, why would someone call me? I'm just a farmer. Her family banned her from playing Harvest fucking Moon because she got so depressed, and she was like, oh, I'm just a failed farmer. Why would people want to be my friend? It's like, you need to stop.
Right now. Listen, when one of your cows die, it's a really bad day.
I hit like the local farmer's market the other day. I was with my friend John, and I was like, John, you want to know how I know what these fish are? I played Animal Crossing, and I fished all the time. And those fish look just like the fish I'm seeing lined up here. I was like, oh, that's a striped trout.
Wait. Bottom line, video games can teach you things.
Oh my God, we're so over time. All right, so listen, that was Tasha. Go back to bed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I keep saying at some point I'm gonna have a fancy outro to make like the goodbyes easier, but this time I think we'll just rip the Band-Aid off. Bye.
Love you. I'll see you soon, honey.
Bye.
Have a great day.
That was Tasha, the networking queen. She can change your life. I know she changed mine. Coming up next is a model I have been teasing since episode 1. This is Haley Goldman talking about how she booked a huge fit model job with Spanx.
I had never been on a go seat. I had to go through 4 rounds of auditions for this, week after week.
Gotcha.
Like, I think I was at this for maybe like a month straight then. A month and a half.
What is a fit model? How does one become a fit model? And what is it like being the fit model for frickin' Spanx? She is going to cover all that in our next episode. Now remember, you walk the walk, we'll be talking the talk.